All right, I'll call the call meeting to order for the purpose of setting the millage rates and tax levy and the final budget resolutions, general fund and enterprise. So, meetings on Friday morning at 8:30 in the Commissioner's conference room. Ask County Attorney if he would to give our invocation.
Yes, sir. Most gracious Heavenly Father, again we thank you for giving us the opportunity to come together and do the business of the folks of Lincoln County. We ask that in everything we do, we're mindful of what is best for them and what is best for you. Love you, Lord. We ask for your guidance and direction. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
On the approval of the agenda, we have consolidated agenda items 7 and 8 into one, and 9 and 10 into one. Is that right, Director Dawes?
Yes, sir.
So those will be done into one. So when we get to those, they'll be consolidated. Before we get started, I want to make just a few little comments.
We need approval of the agenda.
As I motion, we approve the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Tax, second by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion on the motion? There is none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion is carried. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Always keep you straight. I want to make just a few comments. I'm satisfied that all of you received your packets earlier. We've talked about it in a couple of months. If you have any questions, then we'll certainly take them. Hopefully you talked to Director Dawes. If you did, Commissioner Collins and I met and went over some of it, I think last week when he was both back in town. But just a few things that I wanted to point out about this budget. We have tried extremely hard, and when I say we, I mean the Board of Commissioners, over the last 4 or 5 years to bring salaries up. We went for about 9 or 10 years, at least 9 years, with a 1.5% increase in the salaries of Lincoln County employees. We decided a couple of years ago that we needed to be competitive with public safety. We had gotten so far behind of being able to keep deputies, jailers, dispatchers, EMTs, paramedics, and people in all public safety departments. So I want to tell you from FY16 budget to this budget that hopefully you'll vote to approve this morning, we have increased the hourly rate of the county's paramedics at the Office of Emergency Services by 15.5%. Now bear in mind we went at least 9 years with 1.5%. We have also increased the hourly rate of emergency medical technicians in that same 5-year period by 28.8%. We have increased the E911 dispatchers' salaries, same period of time, 16 through this budget, 26.5%. Jail, we've increased the hourly rate of the salaries of the employees at the jail by 19.2%. We have increased the deputy sheriff of Lincoln County in the last 5 years by 28.1% in a 5-year period. I want you to notice though that the captain of the jail and the chief deputy and investigator salaries are not included in that deal. That they've gotten raises, but it's not included in that. I think that we have made a tremendous stride in public safety. I just hope that they realize what we've done and to help get those salaries back up competitive with our neighboring counties. I'd ask Director Doss and Director Broom, particularly to look at Elbert, Wilkes, Warren, McDuffie, Columbia. On the EMS side would have to be Gold Cross. We will never be able to be competitive with our good friends and neighbors in Columbia County, but we're close. We've gotten very close on the salaries. In fact, we have pretty much, my understanding is, we pretty much parallel the salaries of Gold Cross employees. With the ambulance, with the deputy sheriffs, we are competitive now with all counties that surround us, and not too far behind Columbia County. I also want you to notice when you look at this budget, if you do your math on it, that we have an increase of $446,961 from last year's budget to this year's budget. That looks mighty high. In fact, it's about a 6.5% increase. But of that $446,961, $232,036 of it is pretty much based in LMEG expenses, which is a wash. It's money that comes in, increases your budget and goes out. One of the things that affected that was $183,000 I think we got for the Cherokee Road project. But it makes the numbers are inflated, but it's because we got grants or something and it was a washout. It's really not in real dollars that high. So that's $214,925 difference. If you look at the difference in what the budget is this year over last year, it's a little over 3% increase. Now, bear in mind also that I asked the Chief Tax Assessor, Mr. Haydad, to be here in case there was any questions. I don't think it probably is, but I think we all know the reason that values increased as much as they did. But I do want to point out the fact that over the last 5 years, our digest has increased a little and it's decreased a little. I have those numbers, but for 5 years, our digest increased, and I think that 5 years is the 5 years that I've been back in office. I'm not sure. It might even include 16. I got it written down somewhere if I can find it. But our digest average over those 5 years, I think, was 0.5%. Went up a little, some it'd go up $5 million one year and drop back 3 and go up 4 and drop back 6. And so, but when you average those years together, we had 0.5% increase in our digest. This year, we had a 17 point, I think, 3, a little less than 18%. So that will tell you how much that digest increased this year over last year. I think John, I read the Lincoln Journal yesterday, and I think Mr. Stone, John Stone with Lincoln Journal, interviewed or met with Kenny and got some of his information, but it pretty well explained the fact of how this works. And I'm talking to the choir with y'all, but county commissioners, boards of education, development authorities, city government has nothing to do with the values of property. They are charged by law with what they have to do. And it's not just Lincoln County, it's all 159 counties. As Mr. Haydad told me the other day, when he came here, how many years ago, 2000,
2,000.
2000, we had the lowest ratio number in the state of Georgia. Your magic number is 40%. You got to be within 38 and 42%. Not less than 38, not over 40. If you're over 42, you value them too high. If you're less than 38, you're not valuing them right. That's when the state comes in and makes you do something. 2000, we went 28%. 23%. We went 23% and had to take it back to the close to the 40%. What we want people to understand is, based on what's happening now, you could be sitting here doing the same thing next year that you're doing this year. Based on what has happened so far this year, you remember the sales that they had to go by was last year's sales. January through now is not included in this almost 18%. If you look at the sales, and I know that they have, because that's how I got my information to tell me, the sales of property is still escalating on the home side, which means if the bottom fell out today, you probably still have an increase. So I don't expect it to fall out in the next 3 or 4 months. I expect it to fall out in the next 2 or 3 years. But I think you're gonna be sitting here next year with the same thing because of the sales. People are just paying so much for property, and you know, word comes to me, well, they didn't have this in Wilkes County. Well, Wilkes County's not had the sales that Lincoln County's had, and certainly not at the thing. I noticed the news last night, Columbia and Richmond counties. Did y'all see that, how high the sales were there? I know McDuffin's is high. I got 2 houses over there, went up 55%. So it's just all according to sales, and I've said ever since I've been here 40 years, if you don't want digest, go up, sell everything for what the county's got it valued for. If you do that, the digest will never increase. But that's not the way it works. But I just wanted to point out a few of those things. I also wanted to say that our enterprise funds that you have, which is all the other things outside the general fund, is another $5,673,000. So when you take all general fund and all other funds and put them together, we're handling a little over $13 million of money that comes through the commissioner's office. I think with that said, I'm pretty much ready to move on with it. I do want to say though that our budget is a good budget. We have some places in the budget that Director Dawes can tell you more about later if you want to know it. And if you looked at it, we got footnotes for just about everything. But some things were miscalculated, and we had to bring it up, which made it inflate a little bit, even though if you look at your budget amendment adjustments, that's the true budget of what we had last year, and we tried to make this one as close as any way you could make it to be in the same thing. With that said, we'll move on to the item number 5 on our agenda, which is the millage rate. I had 5. Okay, that's that anyway. Okay, to fund the county's FY22 budget, we need to approve a millage rate of 9.6 mils. The current millage rate today is 11.24, I think, so it's a little over a 2 mil decrease. In actuality, to roll it back to not get any more money than we did last year would be 9.688. But we reduced that 88. That reduction of that 88 is around in the early $30,000 deal. So we are actually taking in less money this year to fund our budget by a little bit than what we took in last year.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can I fix that statement? We're actually taking in a few more dollars, about $5,000 more than last year, and that's because of the natural increase of the budget, those people who built houses or did increases, but the revaluation of property, we're taking in less money than we did last year. So the chairman's statement is true, but I want to put it in context.
Yeah, I didn't use the new growth, I forgot that right here, but.
And this is just on the property side anyway, right?
This is on anything that's ad valorem, so mobile homes, the old ad valorem, car tags, property, real property, anything that gets charged with an ad valorem, yes, sir.
And the good news is you know, the Board of Education and the Development Authority lowered theirs the same amount to not receive any new money, so you really, when you get down to all of them, I think it's a little over 5 mil reduction in the millage rate. Okay, with that said, is there a motion that we approve the county's millage rate at 9.6 mils?
I so move, Mr. Chairman.
That's second.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Clyde, second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion on the motion? Commissioner
I
Henderson.
have a question. We got reassessment of existing real property in one column and other changes of taxable digest. Is the other changes, is that the growth that he was talking about?
That's correct. New houses, additions, outbuildings, whatever.
All right, so that's a little over 1%.
Right.
What we actually had growth wise.
Right.
Any other questions? All in favor of the motion, let it be known, saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, the motion's carried. Item number 6, 21 Tax Levy Resolution. I'll ask the clerk if she will read the resolutions.
Yes, sir. Approval of tax levy for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Lincoln County, Georgia, sitting for county purposes this 24th day of September 2021, does hereby order that there be collected by the Tax Commissioner of Lincoln County, Georgia for the tax year 2021 such amounts as may be produced by the following tax rates for county purposes to wit: county 9.600 mills. And whereas upon the direction of the Board of Education for Lincoln County, Georgia, it is hereby ordered that there shall be levied and assessed upon properties subject to taxation for educational purposes the following tax rates to wit: school maintenance and operations, 14.6568 mills, and school bonds, 2.500 mills. And whereas for the purpose of industrial and economic development on behalf of the Development Authority for Lincoln County, Georgia, it is ordered that there shall be levied and assessed the following tax rate for industrial and economic purposes to wit: Development Authority, 0.858 mills. And whereas the total of all tax rates equals 27.526 mills. And whereas it is ordered pursuant to the Code of Lincoln County, Georgia, Section 58-120, that the minimum assessment for residential solid waste for residents of all unincorporated areas of Lincoln County is hereby set at $220.56 per owner or occupant of each residential unit, including all residential units located in manufactured home parks and boat clubs. Now therefore be it resolved that the Tax Commissioner of Lincoln County, Georgia is ordered to collect all said taxes for county, school, and industrial purposes as levied for tax year 2021, and to pay them over to the proper authorities as required by Georgia law. This resolution shall be recorded in the minutes of Lincoln County Board of Commissioners. Duly read, approved, and adopted by the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners for the 24th day of September 2021.
Director Dawson, do you have anything to say before I call to a vote?
No, sir, the only thing I would like to say is that the school board told me that they rolled back the bond M&O rate below the rollback rate, just like we did, and the school M&O is at the rollback rate, and the development authority is at the rollback rate.
Okay, is there a motion that we adopt a resolution for the annual balanced budgets?
Just one second.
We adopt them for the tax levy.
I got one
Balanced
question.
budget resolution.
One question.
Let's do it after we get a vote on a second before we go to comments. Is Is there a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Henderson, second by Commissioner Collins. Discussion, Commissioner Tank.
Mr. Dawes, on this rollback percentage wise.
Yes, sir.
Is it in line with the county, what the county did on the development authority or?
Yes, sir. I mean, so we rolled back slightly below the rollback. The other entities, the school board rolled back the M&O to the rollback rate. They rolled back their bond rate to the slightly below the rollback rate, and the development authority rolled back to the rollback rate. So everybody's rolled back. Nobody's collecting any additional taxes on the reassessment of property.
Any other discussion? If not, we'll call the vote. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. The motion's carried and the resolution is adopted. The next one would be the FY '22 final miscellaneous budget resolution and the general fund budget amendments. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
No, sir.
No, the next item is just the 22 budget, sir.
that's right. All right, FY '22 final budget resolution.
Approval of final annual balanced budget for fiscal year 2022. Whereas it is the duty of the Board of Commissioners of Lincoln County, Georgia, to adopt and operate under an annual balanced budget for the general fund, each special revenue fund, and each debt service fund used by the local government pursuant to section 36-81-3B1 of the official code of Georgia annotated. And whereas nothing shall preclude a local government from adopting budget for any funds used by the local government in addition to those specifically identified, including enterprise funds and internal service funds. And whereas the board has determined the legal levy of a budgetary control to be at the department level, and whereas a notice of a public hearing was published in the Lincoln Journal, the newspaper, a newspaper of general circulation throughout Lincoln County at least 1 week prior to the public hearing that was held on the proposed budget, which public hearing was held on September 16th, 2021, at least 1 week prior to the meeting of the board at which the adoption of the budget resolution was considered. All as required by OCGA section 3681-5F and G. And whereas a notice of the proposed budget was published in the newspaper at least 1 week prior to the adoption of this resolution as required by section 3681-6A. Now therefore be it resolved by the board and is hereby resolved by the authority of the same as follows. Section 1, adoption of annual balanced budget for fiscal year 2022. The annual balanced budget for fiscal year 2022 for all funds of Lincoln County, Georgia, in the form attached hereto and made part hereof in attachment A, is hereby adopted. Nothing shall preclude the board from amending this budget so as to adapt to the changing governmental needs during said fiscal year. Section 2, fiscal year. The fiscal year for Lincoln County, Georgia shall be July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2022. Duly read, approved, and adopted by the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners this 24th day of September, 2021.
Okay, before we call the vote, Director Dawes, do you have any comment?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you and all the department heads for helping work to get to this point. It's been a challenge, but it's been fun.
Okay, is there a motion that we approve the final annual balance budget for fiscal year 2022?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
A second.
I second.
Motion by Commissioner Tankin, second by Commissioner Clyde. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion's carried. Item number 89 is the 22 final miscellaneous budget resolution, 21 general fund budget amendments.
9 and 10.
Director Dawes, do you have anything on that you want to say?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, so what we had to do was we were amending last year's budget to account for some of the things that went over budget, and I'll point if you want to look at the budget expenditure page, which is a backup. It's right behind the actual amendment, so it should be like the fourth page. So I'll just start with our capital. Our capital's up $265,000. You may remember that we received a $313,200 loan grant from the USDA to purchase an ambulance and some stretchers and some other things. Those come into our budget, and so those things, we had to amend our budget, but we received the additional revenues for those items. And so the total of all the changes to the budget is we're increasing the budget by, I'm asking you to amend the budget by $333,194 on the general fund, and you can see where we had items go up and where we had items go down.
Yes, sir.
We'll also be asking you to make amendments to the our other funds, our miscellaneous funds, and you'll notice that most of those are down. There are several exceptions at the bottom of the page. Solid waste, we're needing to amend up by $20,000, and part of that comes from the admin allocation that we transferred earlier this year that we didn't put in the budget, so that's where that's coming up. Transportation SPLOST, we're amending up by $600,000. We spent a little over $1 million paving roads this year, and that's coming out. Our fund still is doing well. The water fund, we need to amend up by 1.1, almost $1.2 million. We spent about 2.3, but that is also because of the USDA loan for over $1.5 million, and so those dollars came back in. We actually have, we'll more than have a fund balance going back into the water department, but we had offsetting revenues for our expenditures. And our workforce development, this is a complete pass-through grant to the county. And so they got more grant dollars and we sent out more grant dollars. So those are the amendments I'm asking you to make to the FY21 budget. That closes our FY21 budget.
Okay, I'll ask clerk to read the resolution.
Approval of amended annual balance budget for fiscal year 2021. Whereas pursuant to section 36-81-3D of the official code of Georgia annotated, local government budgets may be amended to adapt to the changing governmental needs during the budget period. Such amendments shall be adopted by ordinance or resolution. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Lincoln County, Georgia, and it is hereby resolved by authority of same that amendments of the annual balanced budget for fiscal year 2021, beginning on July 1, 2020 and ending on June 30th, 2021, for all funds of Lincoln County, Georgia, in the form attached hereto and made part hereof as Amendment A are hereby adopted. Duly read, approved, and adopted by the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners this 24th day of September 2021.
Okay, is there a motion we adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
I second.
Motion by Commissioner Collins, second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion? There is none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, and the motion's carried. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Clyde, second by Commissioner Tangley. Any discussion on the motion? There is none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign, and we stand adjourned.